Hi, and welcome everybody to another edition of the Winner's Circle Sports Betting Podcast right here on the Winner's Circle Sports Betting channel, brought to you by GamblersWorld.net. It is Tuesday, April the 30th, the last day of April. Wow, time flies. In any event, I am here like every Tuesday, and by the way, I'm Ross Benjamin, your host, and I'm joined by these handsome gentlemen, Mr. Jesse Schule, and Sean is like Sean Higgs, that is, on the bottom of our screen. He's like, when was the last time somebody called me handsome?
I'm
Well,
trying to think, other than my mom tells me when I get dressed up for like a wake or a wedding or something. Oh, you look so handsome. Otherwise, I've been called a lot of things. That's definitely maybe on one hand.
that's okay. Well, I like to make you feel special because you are. All
Ross
right.
Ross apparently drunk at 10 a.m. on a Tuesday. Everybody, he must be totally.
Yeah, you know what? You can't drink all day unless you start early,
early.
So anyway, the bottom line is we need you to subscribe to our YouTube channel. I would hope you want to, not that we need you to, but yeah, we do need you to, and we hope you want to, because yesterday, for example, we went 3-0 on the show. So we've been pumping out winners here on our free picks. And above and beyond the free picks, our analysis, we're hoping you're learning something from our analysis on our picks, as well as our discussions above and beyond the picks and analysis when it applies to sports betting. And all you need to do is click on that subscribe button. That will get you going. It's absolutely free to do so. And also, if you want to hit that like button, it goes a long way in making our sponsor happy and keeping these shows alive, which we've been going strong now for 13 years. For those of you who have subscribed already, there's over 13,000 of you out there. We really appreciate you. For those who have not subscribed and are new, go into your YouTube settings as well and click on the alert notification bell for the Winner's Circle Sports Betting channel, and you'll be notified immediately upon any of our 5 podcasts going up on the channel. We're going to be talking NBA today. All 3 games we'll be covering, as I'll be looking at the Knicks in Philadelphia. Jesse will be looking at the Magic and Cavaliers game 5. That series all tied up at 2-2. And then Sean is going to be looking at the Indiana and Milwaukee series in Indiana with a chance to close out the Bucks. And boy, oh boy, Sean, we said before the series started, we both liked Indiana for the series. I was fortunate enough to get down at plus 180 before they ruled out Giannis. And then they were pretty much even money. So right now we're in a good position to cash on that ticket. But look, before we get into our picks, Sean, any observations or any rant of the day you want to get into?
Rant. Where can we start? Let's start in Phoenix with that debacle there with Suns and KD and Beal. And I told you Beal was a bag a dumpster bag, and the trade for KD just totally destroyed that squad. And now they're complaining, but not the coach's fault. Not that there's quotes coming out that when the guy asked for a point guard, they said, no, that's a silly request. You don't need a point guard. You got Booker, Beal, and KD. What do you need a point guard for? Now KD's looking to go somewhere else. Interesting. Where's he going to end up? He's going to go to OKC. He's going to go where? Boston, Miami. Where? So he's getting traded. Apparently, he wants out of town. And then, of course, there's the Lakers complaining about the refs, even though I think, pretty sure Jesse will. Am I wrong, Jesse? Did they get more free throws than Denver in the series? They want to blame the refs for a desperation 3 in another game in a 5-game series where you blew your 5th double-digit lead. It's somehow the refs' fault.
I think Mike Malone said it all in the post-game presser, Sean. He said the most important stat of tonight's game was Joker's free throw percentage. He was 0 for 0 from the line, and that certainly was a message delivered to the officials.
I mean,
Yeah,
I'm all for letting him play. Let the guys
conspiracy theory of the Lakers, with the NBA wanting the Lakers to, get as deep as they can by sending them to the free throw line a lot. I guess they failed on that. Correct, Sean?
That, and again, everybody wants the Lakers to move on, right? Because it's LeBron. And listen, they got a banner being made right now. We won a game versus Denver. Look at that. They're going to get a banner for playing them competitively for 5 games. And listen,
that might be the closest 5-game series we've seen in a while, though. if you want to give them a little bit of credit for playing well for all but the final 2 minutes every night.
The crazy thing though was Denver just like kind of like whatever, we know we're going to beat you because we're better than you because we had beaten you 10 straight times or whatever was coming into the series. Like, were they just kind of going through I don't say they're going through the motions in a playoff game, but really when it was time to play, boy, they played and they had no problem. I got to tell you, Minnesota, I kind of like Minnesota again 2-1 next series here. They play Minnesota next, right? Denver? Is that who they have?
Yeah. Yeah, it's the only thing that would bother. Yeah, again, Minnesota's young, but
yeah, they played them good last year though. They got the size,
and they play defense. You know what I mean? Minnesota.
This is good. This is the Western Conference.
This is for the for the championship. This is for the NBA championship.
Yeah, this is the championship right here. This game right here. These guys are going to go because Boston with no Porzingis. I think you got a big question mark there.
What's I didn't see the update on Porzingis. Out for the he's
probably out. I think he's got a tear. I think he's gone for the playoffs.
Yeah, that's terrible. That's terrible. So, in any event, you want to see the best players on the floor, but in defense of Boston, they are very deep. So I wouldn't count them out as far as being an NBA champion. And if you like Boston, you don't think that's going to affect them as much as people think. You're probably going to catch better odds on their futures right now. So you might. This is the time you want to jump in.
And also with that, Russ, you're going to get it because I think they're going to. I mean, you steamroll the Heat. They're double-digit and 14-point favorites, 10-point favorites on the road against the Heat. Whoever they have next, they're going to be significant favors over. So they're going to kind of cakewalk in off of like 4-1 series wins or whatever, and then people are going to be like, "Oh, they're not missing a beat. Look at this. They just walked through the Eastern. The Eastern Conference. How good was that? The second place team was 15 games behind them." And that team needed like a 30-2 run or whatever. The Knicks had to go on at the end of the year to get super hot after Randall went down to even get within 15 games. So, yeah, I think you'll find you kind of want the Celtics to win 4-1 or sweep somebody here because who's ever come out of the West will have nice lower numbers. And again, it's playoff basketball. Celtics haven't been tested. We're going to wait till the finals so they have a battle. Come on.
Yeah. Yeah. So anyway, Jesse, we had the topic of discussion yesterday, which got your antennas up because Doug gave us Oklahoma City minus 195, and they did.
Oh, boy, Dougie.
They did win. And Jesse couldn't wait to chime in on the comments section, applauding Doug. And here's the thing, folks. You got to realize this. We're doing you no favors when we give you picks like that. Now, let me explain why. Okay. Jesse and Doug are pros. So when they decide to lay that kind of juice, they're hitting at a very high percentage, and their records would indicate that. I just don't want you guys getting a false sense of security and saying, wow, 195, they won by 8. Why wouldn't I do that going forward? You guys out there, and I don't mean to, and I know somebody's going to be offended and think that they're just as good as us. And you know what? I really don't care. I'm not going to enter that discussion. But I just don't want you guys to get used to saying every night, looking for these 170 to 195 favorites, because these guys pick their spots and are very good at it. So I'm not criticizing Jesse nor Doug, more so than if we're going to be teaching people to do the right things and the right habits, we don't want to give them a false sense of security in that regard. Is that fair? Is that fair, Jesse? I'm not being critical of you or Doug in that regard, but in terms of us teaching the audience to do the right things and not getting them to regularly do bad habits on a daily basis. That's where I was going with that.
No, you're absolutely right. You can't just sit there and pick a bunch of high-priced favorites and expect to do well. You have to calculate the win probability and weigh it to the price. And if you think the probability is significantly higher than the price, and you want to throw one of those in, once a week or something, 1 out of 30, 40 plays, you can get away with that. Or I am getting away with that, as everybody can plainly see.
Like I said, Jesse, you're hitting at a high rate with those plays, and your record and your money earned indicates.
But that. I'm not relying heavily on those plays. Those are once in a while. It's a rare occurrence. I mean, on a day-to-day basis, I'm betting on a lot of point spreads, total. I mean, I bet a lot of totals. I bet a lot of props. I bet a lot of, I'm just looking for the highest win probability. And if I'm not afraid to pay a higher price occasionally for a higher win probability. But first of all, you got to be pretty damn good to even recognize a higher win a true higher win probability, and using the price as your lone indicator is a fool's errand. And I think that's what Ross is trying to say, is that you can't just look at the price, say they're a favorite, so they're going to win. That's not going to work.
Or they're supposed to win. They're supposed to win will get you in a lot of trouble because most times than not, they're supposed to win. You're going to be laying heavy juice on a money line pick in basketball, in hockey, Major League Baseball, and that's where you get in trouble. So again, that's why I frown upon us doing it on this show. And if it is done, I just want to clarify my position on that. It's not a critique against you guys, okay? It's because I don't want the viewers who depend on us not only for free picks and to listen to our analysis, they depend on us to learn. So eventually down the road, they feel like they're more confident in their own handicapping ability. I personally won't go and touch that area over 150 for sure. Most times, I very rarely I go even minus 140 to 150 in that range. Sean, any thoughts before we move on?
Yeah, I mean, I don't like laying big numbers like that, but as I said, and Jesse alluded to, Jesse didn't come in every day and lay 190s.
Yeah,
when it's few and far between. And the problem is, and I say this in my show too, when people say stuff like, how can you just go bet $2 favorites every day? One, you don't discipline because you'll think that's every favorite, and all of a sudden you get wrapped into the money line parlay crew, and that's what all the young guys like. Oh, just money line and their favorites. All right, well that's a recipe for disaster long term, and that's the way you got to look at it. That is the way. Doug and Jesse and other pros, and maybe the person out there thinks they're disciplined enough. Well, you're not disciplined enough, folks. That's why you're getting up and going to a job every day, because you're not disciplined enough to do that and hit one game or 2 games a week at minus 190 or 330, or some wacko on Twitter who's a pro wants to lay 8,500 on the UConn money line to win it.
I think I know the guy you're talking about.
I mean, like, and that's a whole nother thing. Like, a person will say, well, the odds say if the line's 215 and you got to rate at 265, well, there's value on it. I disagree. I mean, anytime you got to win 2.5, 3 games to get even if the game loses, because they lose. The best team ever assembled, the LA Dodgers, are losing you money this year with a winning record. So you can't do that. You got to pick spots, and even the best lose at those things often. So that's why a lot of people. That's why we say you really don't do those kind of things.
Yeah.
On a side note, I had OKC minus the 4 yesterday. So
very nice.
There we go.
Very nice. That series certainly played true to form, and OKC, the youngest team ever as a number 1 seed in the NBA playoffs, really showed their wares. Once they got beyond game 1 and that close call, they really dominated in that series. Now, it did help that New Orleans did not have Zion. And by the way, if you watched our 2-minute short yesterday, I gave you, and on the show yesterday, I also added in another free pick on the New Orleans Pelicans team total under 101.5, which was an easy winner. So, but good for Oklahoma City. Jesse, tell the folks a little bit about how well you've been doing of late, and what you may have coming up, and what they could look forward to.
Well, I didn't love yesterday's card, Ross, so I came out with just one play for 2 units. Bet on the Pittsburgh Pirates at the Oakland A's. I should probably just avoid teams like that, 2 bottom feeders fighting each other. But, like I said, I didn't like the card. I took the L yesterday, but it was rather small potatoes compared to what's happened throughout the month of April and the year of 2024. It's been a great year so far, a great month. I don't know whether I should be sad to see the calendar turn to May tomorrow or excited about it. Probably a little bit of both. But yeah, I mean, I think today we're testing the legendary 14-1 NBA top play streak that is posted up there on Twitter, as well as an 11-1 MLB total streak.
Nice.
So 2 really impressive streaks. And as always, if anybody, a lot of people probably won't believe that those are real. I can show you the screenshots and point you in the right direction to do your due diligence and make sure you understand it is real. So, yeah, hopefully those streaks get extended today.
Yeah, that's where I was going with this discussion last week. And you saw one of the gentlemen in the comments section chime in and try to put words in my mouth that, well, we'll just listen to you, Ross, and we'll shut our mouth. Nobody's asking you to do that. Okay. Where I get annoyed and where I think it's a waste of your time is when you start listing what your streaks. Oh, I'm 15-1 in my last 16. Well, how do we know that? How do we know that? I mean, you very well may be, but what are you trying to do? Are you trying to use our portal with 13,000 subscribers to draw attention to yourself? And even then, you want a lot of people emailing you and calling you after a loss like we have to deal with? And secondly, those streaks, all the streaks, and Jesse just touched upon it, that we advertise or talk about on this show are all documented not only by gamblersworld.net, where we're all handicappers at, but also on several portals across the internet. So at the end of the day, yeah, we go on hot streaks, but when we're losing, we're also very transparent. How many of you out there come in and say, I'm 0-10 in my last 10, in the comments section? Well, and then the other part of the equation is some of these people say they'll never buy. And why should I buy? And if you're not doing good on your free picks, then why should I buy from you? Well, stop, folks. First of all, let me address the latter, and then I'll let Sean. I know Sean has opinions on this and strong ones at that. The guys who say the free picks, if you're not winning your free picks, then why should I buy? Those are the same guys that say you're not winning your free picks, and why should I buy? You can't have it both ways. The ones who say they'll never buy, well, again, if you never buy, I can guarantee you this, folks. If you're not doing this for a living, there's very few of you out there that's going to make money over the long haul. Okay, it's that's not me talking arrogant. That's just a statistical fact. That less than 1% of sports bettors who bet on a regular basis make money over an annual period of time. It's just those are the statistics. So if you don't want to buy and you'll never buy, guess what? You're not hurting us, because we're been going for 20 plus years. So obviously we're doing something right. We're making enough money to do this full time. You're only hurting yourself. So anyway, Sean, go ahead.
Yeah, the free pick crowd is the free pick crowd. You win, they'll never buy a pick, and you lose, you're terrible. Why would I buy your picks? How about start by hitting the like button for us? How about that? Hit the dislike button. Hit the thumbs down. I mean, we'll start there before we say, hey, just like support. Just buy. It's not like it's a crazy amount. You should just buy just to say, hey, I've been watching you guys for 2 years. I'll spend $50. I mean, if you haven't won enough money to buy a pick, stop watching our video or anybody's video for that matter. Just stop. Just stop betting, folks. If you haven't won a penny. If you haven't drawn a profit just from watching the free pick videos here, I mean, let's be honest. I haven't had it documented, but I'm going to say for fact that we've won here on the free picks all the time.
Yeah, you know what, Sean? The bottom line is this: if they just want to watch for the free picks, that's okay. Okay,
just hit the like button.
Yeah, hit the like button. But my point being, it's okay. All right, you don't want to pay, that's okay.
That's
but
fine.
To come in and say, "Don't pay these guys," I'll never pay. How would you like? I don't know what you do for a living out there, but just put yourself in our shoes. How would you like if I showed up to your employer tomorrow morning and said, this guy shouldn't be working for you, and here's the reasons why. And deprive you and put whether the employer decides to fire you or not, still puts that inkling and notion in their head that there's something shady about this guy. So when you make those kind of comments, and some of you get carried away with it, I'll give you a warning or two. But if you get carried away with it, I'm going to, strike your ability to comment. We're not trying to create a negative environment. There's nothing wrong with disagreeing with the pick. There's nothing wrong with disagreeing with our logic and giving us an opportunity to get back to you and have an intelligent conversation. And at the end of the day, if we agree to disagree, that's fine. But when you start getting into attacking us in whatever have you, or telling people not to buy from us, your lifespan in terms of commenting is going to be short lived. Anyway, Sean, tell the folks a little bit about how you've been doing of late and what you got coming up.
Well, NBA, just ridiculous. 11-4 run, 5 in a row, doing pretty good here in playoff basketball. But on the flip side, hockey, I can't catch a total. 5 straight total losses. Isn't this supposed to be playoff action here? I can't catch an under. I can't catch an under in hockey. Oh my goodness. So it is what it is. Like everything, right? You're rolling in one, and you're just. I can't catch one in hockey. I can't get a split. Oh, I'm taking losses and whatever.
Well, you're doing
Baseball's grinding along. I did have the Pirates yesterday too, Jess. Good spot. Already on the West Coast. Orioles coming back. A's coming back east against the O's and the Yanks. Tough opponents. That's a tough one to swallow. I get it. I was with you on that one. I thought that was my luck on that game at least. Good spot travel wise, but again, I couldn't do it today. I was hesitant putting in yesterday. I'm like, man, I'm taking the Pirates as a favorite. Like, what am I doing? But still having a winning season across the board in all 3 sports there, so I'll take it.
Yeah, well, let's talk about the positive, Sean. You're 63% in the NBA at the site for a year now. For a volume handicapper like Sean is, he's been very selective in the NBA, and he's given you his reasons why. And he was 60% at the end of the regular season, and it's 63% now. So obviously he's making a profit in the NBA playoffs, folks. And you can get Sean and Jesse and myself NBA playoff package right now for $195. It'll take you right to the end of the NBA finals. All right, so again, I know I'm going to be accused of arrogant, but you know what? It's not bragging when you can back it up, folks. And it's all documented on, again, not only here, but on a lot of other sites across the internet. Last night I cashed in with the Lakers in Denver under 216.5. My NBA totals now are on an 11-0 run. My NBA overall run 21-4. All basketball totals, meaning college basketball, NBA combined, are on a 20-3 run. All basketball plays, college basketball, NBA since March 19th, 49-21. NBA postseason, 16-4 so far this year, 92-52 since 2022. That's good for 64%. It is what it is. $195, you can get my NBA playoff package right at gamblersworld.net. Jesse, let's get to you, buddy. Let's talk about your game, which is the Orlando Magic and the Cleveland Cavaliers series in which the home teams are 4-0. I believe 4-0 straight up in ATS, too. In Cleveland right now is a 4.5-point favorite. The total in this game is a very low 201.5. And I don't know if you're going to go with a side total or something else, but tell us what you like here, Jesse.
Well, Ross, I'm going to look at the player prop market. And last week you asked me to give out some player props on this show. And I came out and I said normally, especially in playoff games when you got low totals, in low scoring series, defensive battles, I look for unders. I want to find good inflated numbers to go under. And what did I do? I proceeded to give out 2 overs and lost them both. Going against what I normally do. I just said I was looking for unders, couldn't find the ones I was looking for, so I switched it up. And Sean even said, he knows a lot of guys that make a lot of money betting props, and it's always unders. And when he said that, I thought to myself, that is so true. So we're going to look at an under here in what is projected to be a low-scoring game. Pivotal Game 5 in, I think this series must be the lowest scoring series in the playoffs so far. The total for tonight's game, 202. The Magic have been futile offensively on the road, not just in the playoffs, but during the regular season. Their team total is sitting at 98.5. So if you can find a big number for one of the Magic's players to go under, it seems like there's good value there. And we're going to look at their leading scorer, Franz Wagner. His points, rebounds, assists total sits at 30.5. This is a guy that during the regular season, he averaged 19.7 points per game, 5.3 rebounds, 3.7 assists. And if you're not really good at math, that adds up to 28.7 points, rebounds, and assists. Perhaps the reason why it's sitting at 30.5 in a game with a low total where the Magic are projected to lose and be on the lower end of the scoring is because his playoff average is 33.8. But those numbers are skewed by a 34-point performance at home, and he's gone under the PRA in 3 of the 4 games in this series so far, and of course in both games in Cleveland. So to me, meets all the criteria. It's an inflated number. It's in a game where his team is projected to score a low amount of points, and well above his season average. So under 30.5 points, rebounds, assists for Franz Wagner.
There you go. Franz Wagner, under 30.5 points, rebounds, and assists combined. And Jesse gives you a very compelling analysis as to why. And just be sure, folks, there's 2 Wagners on Orlando. They're brothers. So he's giving you Franz. So keep that in mind when you enter your selection at your sports book. Sean, again, this is a homer series so far. And what do you take here? We're looking at, and matter of fact, all 4 wins in this series have been by double-digit margins, if I'm not mistaken, as well.
Yeah.
So, again, do you think the trend here is going to change? I mean, we're looking at Cleveland coming off 2 blowout losses. One in which they had a good lead and then they fell apart, and they're 4.5, and the total here are very low, 201.5. Sean,
I mean, Cleveland won here by what, 10, 13, and go on the road and lose by 40 and 30.
yeah.
How do you just not take the home team, right? It's just been a home team series. I got nothing on this. You'd probably think under because the first 2 games here, nobody even scored 100 points. This is ugly. This is not a game I want to be involved in. Although I think our good friend Chip had made his first player prop was on actually Hannes Wagner. So that's a nice little full circle between Franz Wagner and Hannes Wagner.
But in any event, that's a scoop and news story for me if that happened. I missed that somewhere. Yeah, maybe you did it on another channel.
Hans and Franz, is that what you're telling me?
Yeah, I mean, Chip is not the best with names, so I can't imagine.
Wagner, that'd be
I
funny.
can't imagine he's already deciphered the 2 German players and which one was which.
Hans and Franz, they want to pump you up.
Yeah, and I'm sure that German people will chime in and say it's Wagner, not Wagner. All right. Anyway, let's get to Sean. Indiana, Milwaukee. Indiana right now 4-point favorite. The total is 215. And the Pacers, Sean, have seized control of the series after a disappointing Game 1 performance. They bounced back to win 3 in a row. Now Milwaukee has been without Giannis, excuse me. He's been, and also they've been without Damian Lillard, who's doubtful again tonight. And then you have Chris Middleton, who tweaked his ankle in Game 3. And then you had Bobby Portis get ejected for a flagrant foul the last game, which didn't help their cause as well. What do you got here for us, Sean?
I mean, we pretty much hit the Pacers every which way but loose in this one, right? We said take them serious beforehand. We were talking about it before the odds even came out to take them. Then even after Gianni was ruled out, we said it doesn't make a difference because Doc Rivers is terrible. So they had a first game win. Great. But you know what? We've cashed team totals, first quarter, scoring, all types of overs in the series. I'm going back to the well here on the Pacers team total over. 125, 111, 126 they've scored. And 111, because that game went to overtime. They had a 111 in regulation. They're going to put up their points. Yeah, they didn't the first game. Let's give the Bucks their little due there. It was kind of rally around the team time. Hey, we're not dead because our best player's out. We have a good outing. That was Pacers kind of, wow, we're in the playoff game. Pacers wrap this up. They're going to put up points here tonight. And even if they don't wrap it up, they're going to have to score because you might get that kind of performance from Milwaukee to come out and score some points like they showed a little life in that overtime loss. But I don't know. Pacers team total 109.5. We're a team that averages, 113 or something along those lines, right? Jesse says top scoring team in the league. I'm taking
123, Sean.
123. I'm saying 113 because that's what their total's basically been at, in the playoffs here. But you're right, 123. Let's go over to 109.5 team total Pacers.
Yeah. I can't, I mean, look at when you stop and think about it. And I think I said a statistic on they've scored 110 or more or 111 or more. It's 78% of the time this year.
Yeah.
78% of their games. And I don't know what would lead one to believe that they're not going to top the 110 plus barrier tonight. I mean, of course, the sports books have their reasons, and you got to respect that. It's not a given. But Jesse, just based on the pace that they play at, and Milwaukee has not shown within the 4 games that they could slow that pace down. Now, they did hold them to 94 in game 1. That was more a result of Indiana's bad shooting and such, more so than slowing the pace of the game down. But the Pacers have been able to play at their pace the last 3 games. They share the ball better. In my opinion, Indiana shares the ball better than anybody in the NBA. Why? Well, Ross, are they going to win the NBA championship? Probably not. Okay, because they don't play good enough defense. That's their flaw. But in terms of athleticism and the way they share the ball and the pace that they play at, Jesse, it's hard to disagree with Sean on this pick.
Yeah, you guys are preaching to the choir, but let me answer your question as to why anybody would think they're not going to reach their team total and why the money is pouring in on the under in this game. It started at 217, then went down to 216, then it went down to 214. Where is it at now? I'm not 100% sure, but I can see that. Yeah, so the money is pouring in on the under. In my mind, Indiana's character as a team, the reason they've been successful so far, and we've seen it in the last few games, they got to run, they got to play at a fast pace, they got to score points. They're not a lockdown defensive type of team that's going to slow it down and try and win a defensive battle. If I'm still with you guys, am I still with you guys?
We got you.
Yeah, we got you. Just close up a little.
My screen's been swirling a little bit, but anyways, yeah. My guess as to why money's coming in on the under is you saw all 3 games go under the total yesterday. The unders hit at a phenomenal rate in all the other series, but this is a totally different situation in my mind. You got an Indiana team that second in the league in pace of play, first in scoring by a wide margin, not designed to play any other way. Why mess with success? You got an injured Milwaukee team without their 2 best players. So you play the way you play, and you trust the fact that they're not going to be able to keep up in a shootout. If you start playing a slower, lower scoring game, that just opens the door for Milwaukee, in my opinion. And I think both teams go over their team total here. Milwaukee, without Dame and without Giannis, still Middleton, yeah, I know he tweaked his ankle, but he's still putting up like 30 points a game. He's looking pretty good. They still got players. They're playing at home. I expect them to. I expect Milwaukee to score 110, 120 to 110, something like that is what I expect to see here tonight.
Yep, I agree with both you guys, and I really like this Indiana team. I just wish they played better defense. In all likelihood, if they get by this series and they're on the cusp of doing so, they'll have to play Boston in round 2. That's a tough ask because the Celtics, again, they lost Porzingis, but they're certainly a better team with Porzingis. But you have to play defense against a team like Boston too, especially over a 7-game series if you expect to win. So we'll see. I can tell you this. I would look forward to that series, Boston, Indiana. I think it's going to be a very entertaining series to watch at the very least. All right, let's look at the 76ers and Knicks. The Knicks right now, 4-point favorite, total 203.5. The Knicks since last season, and by the way, the Knicks are coming off a 97-92 win at Philadelphia to seize control of the series at 3-1. And the Knicks 4-0 straight up in ATS since last season as a home favorite of 6 or less. Following a game they scored less than 100, qualifies in this situation. Hasn't happened a lot of times, but when it has, they've cashed on all 4 of those occasions, winning and covering. Average total or average line in those games was -3, and they won by 19.5 points per game. Knicks also 6-0 straight up this year after allowing 99 or less, which they did in their previous game. And 6-0 straight up in 18. It's 6-0 straight up in their last 6, not all year long, after allowing 99 or less. And why I'm giving you the straight up number is because they covered 5 of those 6, folks, but they won by 22 points per game in those situations. Knicks also 5-0 straight up in ATS since last year is a favorite of 2-6. And the average line after allowing 100 or less, and their average line minus 3.2, winning by 15 points per game. So, again, not a lot of situations and sample sizes, but they all revolve around the Knicks coming off a stellar defensive performance where they allowed less than 100, and they've won and covered for the most part in each one of those situations. Philadelphia scored 96 or less in 5 of their last 8 and 104 or less in 7 of their last 8. So it's not like they're operating with a high degree of efficiency offensively. They've been held to less than 100 at home for just the third time in game 3 this season. And in the following game, after being held to less than 100 at home, they only averaged 93.3 points per game. That puts them in a very tough situation if they fall in that category tonight to come away with a win, let alone covering the 4-point underdog spread. Since last season, the Knicks 8-1 straight up and 7-1 ATS as a home favorite after scoring 99 or less. Again, they scored 97 in their last game. And if they were a home favorite of 6.5 or less in those situations, they improve to 6-0 straight up in ATS following a game they scored 99 or less, winning by 18.2 points per game. So I'm going with the Knicks here. I know I threw a lot at you in terms of I used a lot of team trends here, which I don't normally depend on a lot of that, but there seems to be tendencies in both teams right now, and my eye test tells me the Knicks are primed to close this out at home in front of probably a very, very electric home crowd at Madison Square Garden. Sean?
Yeah, you know what? It's Embiid's already complaining about the fans. Is this him asking for a trade later on after the season? This is a team, as great as he is when he's on the court, he just is never healthy enough. I said before, I said I think it's time to break this squad up as well. But I like the over, believe it or not. As much as it's, you look at the scores, like, wow, there's not a lot of scoring. It's down to 202 now from 209, basically in an opener in these games. All besides the last game's 97-92, they have gone. Both teams have scored 100 points in the other games here. So I don't know. We're gonna find out if Philly has any heart. Are they gonna come out Rocky style, show some heart like Rocky Balboa, put up a fight? I thought this would be like a 6-game series to start. It looks like a gentleman's sweep, but I don't know. I'm just gonna go over the total. Again, that's thinking that Philly is not gonna come in and crumble up like a baby here. So I'm gonna go over to 202.5. But I can't disagree with the Knicks. The Knicks look great. Brunson looks like he's a best guy on the floor. Not scared to take shots, taking over games. So he's the real MVP there, not Embiid.
I question Embiid's character, and his heart. And I know I'm going to take some flack for this, Jesse, but just his body language in his post-game interviews. Go ahead, Sean. I'm sorry.
I was going to say, he's had bad fourth quarters, which is fine. You're gonna but it's he doesn't even take that many shots. He's taking 4 or 5 shots. If you're coming out like taking over a game, no one's gonna say, "Oh my goodness, I can't believe he's 2 of 9 from the field." Like 0 of 3, you're like, really gonna take 4 shots for the game? I don't. But like you said, the body language after losses is that's the kind of stuff you look at like, oh, not a good sign. Yeah. Not a good sign.
Yeah. Also, the fact that he's become more of a perimeter player in the series because of his knee injury, and then tweaking his knee, where he doesn't have that mobility to put the ball on the floor and penetrate as much as we're used to seeing him do. On top of that, it's limited his ability on the offensive glass as well. And then you couple in the fact that yesterday I read an article, he's been suffering from Bell's palsy over the last few weeks. And for those of you unfamiliar with that, it's where one side of your face you can't even feel. Now, how's that affect you on the basketball court? Technically, it doesn't, but it's just another annoyance in making somebody who's having physical problems already and adds that, which really above the neck, you got to believe affects a player. Jesse?
Well, I don't think you get Bell's palsy, Ross, if you're in tip-top shape is the thing. So
Yeah.
how that affects him could go deep, actually. I'm not a doctor, but like I say, I mean, if you're in tip-top shape, I don't think you get Bell's palsy. But yeah, I mean, Embiid's got all the excuses in the world. I do question his character as well, but at least he's going out there and playing.
Yeah.
Giannis is, you know, they say he's returned to practice. They say he's close to returning. It's an elimination game tonight. Where's he? I mean, I'm of the mindset that he should be, limping out onto the court for one final hurrah if he's got it in him tonight. But back to the Knicks series. I mean, I had the Knicks from the jump. I expect them to close out the series tonight, but I did give out a play on Embiid's points total, 32.5. You know, he scored 1 point in the fourth quarter of game 4. As Sean said, he didn't look great in the post-game presser, whining and crying. The Bell's palsy combined with the knee injury, combined with the fact that he's struggled in the playoffs the last 3-4 years. Last year's elimination game against the Celtics, he scored 15 points in a game 7. I don't think he's getting to 32.5 here in game 5 in New York.
Yeah, and if he doesn't get to 32.5, I don't like Philly's chances whatsoever, because that's the only way to stay in this game, right? I mean, you got your guard there that's playing very well, and Maxey, but he's not the guy that can carry you when you're down and backed into a corner is Embiid. And he's the guy you depend on. So if he doesn't reach that 32.5 or over that 32.5, they're going to have a very difficult time winning. So
yeah, I mean, you're asking Oubre, Maxey, and Tobias Harris to actually come in and have some monster game or score 40 points. It hasn't happened yet. They've had a good game, but that's what you're That's what you're leaning on, because Embiid is he's hobbled for sure.
all right, show went a little long today. I hope you took a lot away from our conversations in terms of the NBA playoffs and some of the handicapping tips you could have picked up along the way if you were listening. For those of you who just want the answers to the test, my man Seth always puts up the time in which each individual handicapper starts their analysis and their pick. So if you want to shortcut the process, you can do that as well. Hopefully that's not the case. But in any event, we will be back tomorrow talking more NBA playoffs with Jesse Schule and Sean Higgs. And Jesse, there's a like button right underneath.
Smash that like button.
Smash that like button. Just a small token of your appreciation for the work, time, and effort we put into bringing you a quality podcast. For Jesse Schule, Sean Higgs, and Ross Benjamin, take care and God bless, folks.